Welcome to 12 Minutes or Less with the Author. I'm your host, T.L. Brown, but you can call me Tracy. Let's get started. Hey there. Welcome to 12 Minutes or Less with the Author. I'm your host, Tracy. Today we have an exciting guest. We have author Joanna Monahan, who just released her first book, Something Better. Joanna writes women's fiction with a Gen X flair. She lives in North Carolina with her husband, their 2 children, and 1 hangry cat. When she isn't writing, Joanna enjoys theater, baseball, and bookmarking recipes she will never make. A child of the 80s, she regrets that she no longer receives pizza coupons in exchange for reading books. You can learn more about Joanna at joannamonahan.com. That link can be found in the podcast description along with her socials. So let me show you this beautiful book. Look at this beautiful book. Joanna's debut women's fiction novel, Something Better, was just released on June 20th from Blue Ink Press, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome, Joanna. I am so excited to meet you.
So good to be here and to see you and to talk to you after meeting you on Instagram and chatting that way for 2 years. This is wonderful.
Wow, 2 years. That's amazing. It's gone by like that. Well, I am thrilled that you said yes to join us. So let's get to the really important part of this discussion, which is Something Better. Can you tell us about this coming of middle age novel? And I received an advance copy, just so everybody knows. I got to read it before it came out, and this is a meaningful book. This is a special, emotional, and meaningful book. So I'm sending it over to you. Tell us about your book, Joanna.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, it is what I have been calling a coming of middle-age tale about love, family, and the dangers of attending your high school reunion. And it's about a wife and mother, Corinne, and she is in her 40s. And I like to say that she's at this crossroads of what if and what next. This idea of, her child is getting ready to go to college. She's been married for 20 years. She's been taking care of her mother, who has sadly passed away, and Corinne is now sort of left without the things that have defined her for almost 2 decades. And she's really left wondering, who am I, and is there something better out there for me? And then, of course, lo and behold, the invitation to her high school reunion shows up, and she thinks that maybe, aha, this is the answer. And so she goes to her high school reunion, where she hopes but does not expect to maybe see the ex-boyfriend who broke her heart in high school, Nick. And when he does show up, that's sort of where some decisions start to be made. And that's what she has to sort of deal with the rest of the book, the repercussions from that reunion. And it really, for me, what I enjoyed about writing this is I originally thought I was going to write YA. And after writing my first YA manuscript, I sort of realized that wasn't where I wanted to live. So I decided to write a novel for adults, but I still wanted some YA elements. So I wanted to set it in a high school setting. So that's kind of where the idea of a reunion came from. And when I first started, I thought it would be snarkier. I thought maybe satirical. I like to say that I started out as Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion, and I ended up Peggy Sue got married.
I totally get that. That's awesome. That is an awesome description.
Those are my Gen X bona fides right there. So it really did. I wrote this during the pandemic, and it did. I think, like I said, I started out wanting to write more broadly, comic, and I wasn't feeling that way. A lot of us were feeling very tender. And so the book that came out is it's a little quieter, and it's a little bit more, I think it's a little more reflective. And hopefully that's what people get out of it, this sort of idea of what defines us is the little moments in between the big ones.
Oh, that is such a perfect way to put it. And that comes out in Something Better. I'm so glad that you have told us about why you've wrote this book. And I kind of have an extra question now, since you did explain that. It was going to be one of my questions, but you're like reading my
Sorry,
mind.
I jumped in.
Oh, no, you didn't. You are reading my mind. This is perfect. As you were writing it, as writers, we do put some of our stuff in it, not everything. And you never want to confuse authors with their characters. But because you have such a wonderful Gen X voice, and you love, you brought up Romeo and Michelle and that culture, as you were writing Corinne and bringing her to life in her voice, what parts of you did you add to Corinne?
I do think that she and I have a lot of similarities in that we are both in our 40s. We both have a child who is ready to go off to college. But I told my husband I was going to make him a shirt that says "My wife writes fiction, not memoir." That is sort of, I did put my sort of viewpoint, not experience, viewpoint in there, as sort of an entry point. But I was very careful. I am from a small Midwestern town, and I was very careful not to use anyone or anything that actually happened, because I want to be able to be invited to my own reunion in the future.
No,
So
that's perfect.
Yeah, I tell people I would only ever use the good. I would only ever use the good, but I will make up all the bad. So
I think that's perfect. That's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
definitely perfect.
And I
So,
did think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, please go ahead.
The other experience that I bring to it with the Gen X is the idea that we were sort of this famously self-governed, under-supervised generation. So I think it's very interesting to compare being 18 and a Gen Xer and being in your 40s and still behaving as though you're 18. And there are some very different ramifications of that. So I thought that was a lot of fun to explore in this book.
And I think you did a great job, and you make a great point, and earmark that for a future interview. I want to talk to you about that. I definitely want to explore that. Tell us, tell listeners and viewers, what is coming next from Joanna Monahan?
So I am working currently on my second women's fiction novel. It's called Welcome to Blooms. And it's about a career-driven Daisy Bloom who has to team up with her lacquer bud to save the family flower shop. So this is, I tell people, if you are a fan of Schitt's Creek, if you're a fan of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, this is kind of a family comedy. And I'm having a great time in it with this.
That's fantastic. And that sounds very timely. And I knew you teased out a few things on social media. So please earmark, me as an advanced reader copy. I would love to read that. So well, we've come to the end of our show today. So I want to thank you for joining me. And I want to tell people where to get this book. You can go to www.blueinkpress.com/somethingbetter.html. That will be in the podcast description, so you can click right there. Joanna is in Instagram and Facebook social media channels, and those links will be there as well. Follow her, like her, share her. Thank you, Joanna, for joining. Yay! It was so nice to meet you, and I can't wait to see what you release next.
Thank you so much. This has been just wonderful. I'm so happy we could do this.
All righty. Thank you, listeners. Catch you next time. This has been 12 Minutes or Less with the Author. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Hope you can join me for the next one. Until then, this is Tracy, aka Author T.L. Brown, signing off.